We're live.
Oh, made it.
Hang on 1 second. I got to remove Twitter from the feed. Okay, we're live.
There we go.
Hey, everyone. Good to see you.
Welcome back, everybody. You guys are tuning in to the weekly SEO Jam, and we're hoping to make your life a whole lot easier in this crazy Google game that is ever evolving. And also, like Lane and I have been talking a lot about, for those of you guys who haven't been paying attention, not just the new strategies are working, but the timeless shit that's been true in Google for like 20 years. So that, like, instead of building this foundation of sand that Google can just take your rankings one day, you're actually building real authority on the internet. For those of you guys who don't know us already, by the way, my name is Frankie Fihn. A lot of people know me because I wrote this best-selling agency book, and the Lane Train is the founder of the Quantum Agency. So, Lane, we were talking off air, and I'll tell you something that I struggled with for probably a good decade is, especially like in those beginning stages where I didn't feel like I knew that much about SEO, there's just so much conflicting advice. And it's like, you know, one guy says, don't do this, and they say it very emphatically, and it sounds like they know what they're talking about. And yet then you go find someone else and they say, do this thing, and it works. And a lot of times you just end up as this confused beginner, and you're almost afraid to do anything in Google because it's all going to get you in trouble. And at the end of the day, like, it kind of, like, at least for me, like, just made a plan of action like really, really difficult. So anyways, you've been building something. I wonder if you could share a little bit about the folks about what you've been building, kind of sift through that madness.
Yeah, absolutely. So you'll see that banner or ticker down at the bottom of the screen here, SEO Success Academy. So, you know, I couldn't do this, you know, before I offloaded Signal Genesis. I just had a lot on my plate between running the software company, Signal Genesis, and then running the agency, our white label agency, Quantum. Now that I've got, you know, the software company offloaded and those responsibilities are alleviated, I've decided to take, you know, everything I've learned over the last 15 years from both the agency side and actually implementing and conducting SEO at scale. You know, it's not in the beginning, but now for sure, you know, in these last 4 to 5 years, you know, with hundreds of campaigns that we actively manage, and then also everything that I've learned on the software side with, you know, building Signal Genesis and, you know, and you know, all the intellectual property and knowledge and experience that of mine and Matt, my business partner, that went into that, and just everything that we learned in that process. So a lot has been learned, a lot of knowledge has been gained, you know, through practical experience, building an actual SEO software platform that actually influences Google's algorithm, you know, in real ways, right? So I'm taking all that knowledge and I've kind of bundled that into SEO Success Academy. To your point, the number one problem in the industry, if you're an agency owner, if you're an SEO professional, if you're building an SEO team under you or in your agency, the number one challenge is the noise. All of the information that's out there. And like you said, the people that confidently assert that this works or that works, you know, and because they assert that it worked on their one campaign. And so they're out there on a Facebook group saying, this absolutely works, or, you know, whatever. There's a lot of noise and a lot of information there. Some of it good, some of it bad, some of it, you know, kind of, you know, neither really good or bad. Just kind of, it's just news or what, you know, happenings. But the challenge is, how do you sift through all that in any kind of time efficient way, and then determine what is actually good to listen to? What advice is actionable that I should really take action on? What stuff should I completely ignore? And that's the number one challenge that SEO Success Academy is going to address in the industry. That number one pain point. There's just so much information out there, and so many people confidently asserting that this works, that works, whatever. And as a typical agency owner or SEO professional or SEO team lead in a larger agency, it's really, it takes a lot of time just to sift through all that and then figure out, and then do single variant testing and all that kind of stuff, right? So we're going to cut through all that noise because I'm going to take my time and in a very economic but paid environment, help people save all that time and focus on what really matters. Because I would say 90 to 95%, if not even more of that, of all the news and stuff that's out there is either irrelevant, will lead you down a wrong path, or will just completely waste your time and get you off focus, right? And so SEO Success Academy was created to solve that industry pain point, because that's the one thing I've seen. You attested to it. I've talked to hundreds, if not thousands, of agency owners. That is a constant challenge, and I think it only gets worse and worse as time goes on, because there's more and more experts out there that are asserting, this works, that works, but they really don't know, and they're really not testing, and they're not doing SEO at scale. They don't have 10 to 15 years of experience. They're brand new in the game.
That's what I was going to say on that, Lane, just to kind of cut you off for a second. But like what I learned after probably 7-8 years is I figured out a really simple question is that person having to rank hundreds of websites based on what they're telling people to be true? And almost always, when they are, in those few cases where the answer is yes, you can almost always take that advice to the bank. And most often what you find is a lot of people they get paid to be experts. They get paid to talk about it. They get paid to share about it. They get paid to build courses. But what they don't get paid for is actually ranking in the trenches. And what you're talking about is to me, it's this is in the trenches, no BS, no holds barred, in the battlefields kind of stuff. And almost always getting directly to that, this is working is to me a massive time saver, because like I said, for 10 years, I just consumed a lot of stuff and felt mostly confused about it all.
Another piece of this too, Frankie, is that I see, there are people who really know what they're doing. One name comes to mind here. He's extremely intelligent around SEO. He's newer onto the scene in the last maybe 2 to 3 years. He's in Europe. He's not here in the United States. Has a very big growing following because he's very, very smart. But I mean, he goes into the 35th layer of the onion in terms of, how to rank stuff. And oftentimes you only need to get to the 5th layer to rank something, right? And so the other challenge is that there's a lot of things out there, or there's plenty of people out there that really know what they're doing and talking about, but they get into such deep components of the algorithm and such technical things that while they might be true and might even be really effective if you were to implement it, it's so complex and so unneeded in 90% of your actual SEO scenarios that you have with an agency, that you could waste years diving into these rabbit holes of SEO that really aren't going to pay you any dividends other than to give you more knowledge around things that you're not actually going to actually practically implement into the vast majority of your SEO campaigns that you have as an agency. And so, I spent 5 years literally trying to peel down the onion and get to a minimum viable product that would move the needle 80 to 90% of the time, not all the time, because there's always going to be exceptions to the rules. There's always going to be those hard campaigns that just, are head scratchers. Like, why is this thing not ranking? But if you can I
just tell a funny story about one of those, by the way? I was at a plastic surgery conference, and there was a lady. Yeah, and this is my first agency, and the lady was a plastic surgeon, and she was clearly also a customer of her thing, and so she had a facelift that was kind of awkward, and she had the duck lips going on, and she wanted me to run an analysis on her, and she was like, why am I not ranking? And so I just pulled up a backlink profile, and back in those days, it was pretty easy to just look at specific links they had. And they were all spammy porn links and stuff. So obviously presumably a competitor had tried to sabotage her or whatever, but it was Viagra. I still remember one of the links she had was forced humiliation sex or something like that. It was all this ridiculous stuff. And you could see the horror in her face, but she had so much plastic surgery that, she couldn't actually react. And I say that because there's always that client that's going to be difficult to rank, but you want stuff as Lane is kind of alluding to in my mind is most of you guys don't give a fuck about the 35th layer of how this works. You just want to rank for your clients and have them call you and say, we got so much business because of you, and they have them stay and keep paying you. And for you guys to implement it, what we want to reduce here is the amount of in between steps to just get to that point.
Yeah. I've seen literally I mean, number one, if you want to run SEO profitably at scale, you can't be doing custom this, custom this, custom that, and like you have to have a minimum viable product that is going to get you results the vast majority of the time. And then, those one-off unique cases, you can either fire that client or address them however you see fit. But the vast majority of the time, you're going to rank if you do X, Y, and Z in a chronological, kind of rollout of a campaign. And if you want to run it profitably, you can't be doing all this extra stuff that you really don't need to be doing to get ranking, but because you geek out on it, or because someone in a Facebook group or some guru said you should be doing all these other things. And that happens a lot. Okay. It happens way more than what I think we actually give credit to. And so there's a lot of agencies out there running SEO, but they don't really know what's working. They don't really have an MVP. They're not really extremely profitable around SEO because they're doing all these extra things that they think work, might be working, but might not even need to be being done. And so that layer of confusion also exists in the industry, and that needs to be resolved if you want SEO to be simple, scalable, and profitable. Okay. You can do SEO one-off campaigns and do all sorts of custom things, but you're not going to do hundreds of campaigns if you're approaching your SEO strategy in your agency in that manner.
Yeah.
Should I share? Maybe just share my. Let me just share my screen. I'll kind of share it with the audience.
Because I've had a few folks message me this week and ask what's inside, and I figured, why don't we just show them? That's a lot easier than trying to describe what it is. Why don't we just show them?
So this is the inside. It's built on the school platform, just so I didn't have to kind of build my own software on that side. So school's got a great platform for an academy, an institute, a course, whatever you want to do. But so to my point previously, the first thing is saving time by giving the members of SEO Success Academy the real news that really matters, instead of you having to try and figure all that out on your own on a weekly, monthly basis. And if you run an agency and you're providing SEO, and even if you're not like the SEO team lead, or you're not doing SEO yourself, or even if you're outsourcing it to an agency like ours, you still need to know what's going on in the industry so you can speak authoritatively and confidently around SEO if you're selling it, right, and providing it as an agency. And so that's one big benefit. Is I'm literally got just an entire library of things, whether it's the latest news or it's things that are happening within the algorithm, or like last week, WordPress.org bans WP Engine, and it throws anyone who's being hosted on WP Engine. They're cited, there's lots of cascading issues there. One thing I pinned, for example, was my takeaways on the Google August 2024 core update. The core update from August really rocked things again. Lots of movement up and down. Sites got hit. Some sites regained that were hit from the March update. So there was all sorts of movement, and I never react as the update's happening. I want to wait until the update's done rolling out, and then there's 30 to 60 days of hindsight that we can now kind of look back and go, all right, what can we actually learn from this now that things have kind of, the dust has settled? Too many people react to what's happening live, or they want to change their SEO strategy because all of a sudden now they see 5 of their 10 sites tanking after a core update is being released. You can't react like that. You've got to wait, give it time, and then learn lessons, and then implement anything that should be taken away into your strategy. So what I did here is, I study things myself. I read from the other experts that I know and trust around what's happening in the algorithm update in this instance. And then I take the whole horizon, and then I come away with a couple of just very simple key takeaways. Now, I could have put out 10 key takeaways, but there's really just, again, if we're going to implement these things and really learn and not try to make this really complex and take a lot of time, keep it simple. There's 2 very simple takeaways here that are very, very actionable and are really, really important to learn from this core update. And so, I guarantee you, I'm saving you hours of work and research by.
Can I just say, by the way,
What's that? Go
Lane,
ahead.
did you ever watch the movie Groundhog Day with Bill Murray, where he wakes up and has to relive the same day over and over? That's how I used to feel as an SEO with Update Day.
Yeah.
So it's great, it's Update Day, but this is something really awesome where folks can get real-time information and deduce it down to like an 80-20, like these are the 2 action steps.
And this is anything that we put in here, Frankie, is coming through my filter, right? And so I've got 2 assistants working with me to curate content to and then they're giving it to me, and I'm going, no, we don't need to pay attention on that. Yes, we need to put a post out on this. Then we work on it. I review it, make sure it looks good, and then we post it out there. And so I've got 2 full-time assistants plus me doing this work for $17 a month. Like, that's my goal, was to add so much value, like literally for the cost of a Happy Meal or so. You can actually get real curated content, my own strategies. Obviously, we've got our weekly SEO jam here. So as an example, we go in the classroom. We've got the recording vault here. And so all your and my weekly SEO jam sessions are being put in here. I've got like one in here right now. I've got my assistant's going to have it all built out this week. All of our previous sessions are going to be in here with like the summary and key takeaways. So you can watch the session. Each of these are, like 17, 15, 30 minutes long, however long. But then you also have all of the actual like takeaways from that session right here as well. And so, you can, if you have an agency and you've got a team lead or you've got a couple of techs and you want them to have access to this, just create a school account that has access to the SEO Success Academy and share that one school account with your SEO team. And I'm totally fine on, agencies having an account for their entire team and not having to have, each user. That's totally fine, obviously, if you have that scenario. But so this is a great resource for either you as an agency owner or your team leads in SEO. Here's all the different types of categories of content that we're putting in here. So as we find new strategies, as we curate other latest news, as we see the algorithm changing, or just anything around best practices, that's going to be coming out daily. There's daily content coming out that is curated through me and through my filter, including strategies and things like that. There's going to be more courses coming in here, a local SEO course. I'm actually creating a course of how we at Quantum Agency effectuate SEO, how we carry out a campaign in a chronological order. So I'm going to create like a course that's just around how we do SEO. And then I'm going to bring in some other experts. I'm going to have some other experts in the SEO industry. I'll do interviews with them. All that content will flow into SEO Success Academy. We also give our members the ability to ask questions. Obviously, for $17 a month, you're not paying me to be your consultant, but I'm doing my best, like I did with Ginger here, to help her, answer questions. So I'm answering member questions as they come through. And then lastly, there's going to be a monthly AMA session. I'll do a monthly Ask Me Anything session around SEO, digital marketing. That will be a live session, just like you and I are doing, Frankie, but it'll be once a month. Members can only members of SEO Success Academy will be able to come on to those sessions, ask me anything that they want. We'll answer those questions live. We'll record them, and then all of those sessions will also be set up here as replays in the recording vault as well. So just a growing hub of information, knowledge, resources all around SEO through the filter and lens of my experience exclusively. And the goal is just to save people time, give them actionable strategies and tips that they can take right into their SEO campaigns and their agency, and also just eliminate the noise that's out there, because that is the number one pain point. So that's a quick overview of SEO Success Academy.
Love it, my dude. I have a little commentary, just as somebody who's obviously like been through this. Like I said, for me, what I had to build for myself to actually be successful was just really a network of other SEO people that were actually doing this in the trenches. And the more we shared information, the better I got at like being able to rank my client stuff, to do it consistently, to do it faster and things like that. Because like you said, a lot of what happens is there's an 80-20 in it. Like if you want to do the full SEO spectrum, there's probably 250 things you could do on every single campaign. But as you mentioned, there's an 80-20 within there of like, well, these are the 5 things that are going to most move the needle. And if we want to build, as you put it, like a minimum viable product. And to me, the real value is, especially for those of you guys who are scaling and building this, is the 245 things you don't. Like I think of one of our mastermind members, he came to me and he was trying to scale his SEO agency. For those of you guys who've been through it, he was trying to like document his processes and things like that. And I knew just from having done it that he had bloated processes. He was trying to scale all 250 things, and it just doesn't work that way. Like there's just too many moving pieces.
And then you never know what's working. How do you actually test that and go, all right, well, these are the 5 things that are working, right? Or the 10 things that are working. If you're throwing a bunch of stuff out at the wall, you'll never know what actually is sticking, because all the shit looks the same.
And one of the things that was happening for him in his industry, I remember I just asked him a simple question, like, what's actually moving the needle? That's like an 80-20 question.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, it's the Google business place, the what I would call, because I'm old, the Google Maps. So the Google Map listing is what's moving it. And I was like, okay, so you get a new client, you have to like take over their site. You have to always redesign their website because it's not in shape. Or it's not like, SEO optimized. You end up having to rebuild their site, and there's all this back and forth, and you need images, and you got to have a team and blah, blah, blah. And you're telling me none of that is actually like moving the needle and generating revenue and phone calls for them. Why don't you just double down on the Google business places? And then your processes are these 4 or 5 things that really move the needle. And as what you would describe as a minimum viable product. The real value to me in that is when he trims those 245 things that were all this extra effort, is now scales like 100 times easier, because he doesn't have to redesign every client's website. He doesn't have to optimize 640 pages. Although, as we've mentioned, Search Atlas can do that with a couple button clicks. But at the end of the day, like the real secret to scale is like he's got a Pareto down. These are the 5 things we do again and again because they work 80-90% of the time. If we do those things, you're going to rank, you're going to get phone calls, and you're going to find this service ultimately valuable and have clients. I say high fiving you, but nobody ever high fives you for #1 SEO, but pretend clients did high five you and doing that. And so to me, the real value is, like you said, is if you watch enough SEO stuff, they'll tell you everything that matters. And that is true. Like I found the same thing, like when we run paid ads, it's true. Every little thing in a paid ads matters. Like you use a green button or a red button, you'll get different results. But at the end of the day, the green and the red button is not the 80-20 that's going to really, really move the needle. And neither is a lot of, the things people like really, really hammer on as important as you've had to do in the trenches, actually getting paid to rank. And that's the real magic to me, is that you can just skip to that. And can I just say, like, it's, somebody who's in there, it's designed for implementation. This is like, obviously Lane's mentioned courses and trainings, but the whole point of it is to save you time and energy, not to inundate you with, here's 45 modules you got to consume. Because sometimes I found, at least for me personally, like back in my early SEO days, like I'd watch, 27 hours of videos and feel smarter, but nothing would actually be done in my agency to move the needle, forward.
How do you
actually getting clients.
Yeah. I mean, you have a SEO course that's got 28 modules, and each module has 4 subsections. Like, you're going to get smarter if you actually consume that knowledge, potentially, hopefully. But how are you going to go implement that? And so, I have the very simple saying: simple scales, fancy fails. And you can get very, very fancy in SEO. You can get really geeky and really techy, and you can get into all the different signal categories and all the different technical components, and you're never going to scale that. I mean, if you want to have a 5 campaign, 10 client agency, and you want to, and your model is, hey, 10 grand a month with 10 clients. Okay. But, good luck charging 10K a month and getting 10 clients at 10K a month. It's going to be harder at SEO. So and even still, can I just say, because I know folks who are actually doing that,
if you're doing everything, all the 250 things that matter, instead of the 5, as Lane would call a minimum viable product, because these are the 80-20 of the things we found most move the needle, your margins are going to be like 5 to 10%. Because I know people that actually do charge $10K a month for like high-end custom SEO, and they're like, yeah, we make about $500 a month per client, or $1,000 a month.
If you're an agency owner listening to this today, and you number one, you should know your gross and net profit margins, right? Or your gross revenue and your net profit margins. If you don't know that, then you need to get on that. If you are on it and you're in the know, you know that if you're an agency and you're achieving 30%, net profit margin or 30% EBITDA, you're doing good. Like that's considered a pretty good, healthy agency, right? There are a ton of agencies who are well below 30%. Okay. Yeah. Now I'm going to give you just a little inside knowledge here. At Quantum Agency, we're running at around 45% profit or EBITDA. 45% of our gross revenue is profit. Now, how do we do that as a white label agency? Because I'm not charging retail rates; I'm charging wholesale rates to give our agency partners the ability to double our prices in the retail market. So you've got to think about that. Like, you can run SEO at an incredible profitable margin, but you cannot do it if you're doing it the way Frankie was just discussing. Trying to pay attention to all this.
Yeah, we're coming up on the minute mark for me. I got to jump in 30 seconds. Yeah.
So anyway, you guys got the message. Hope you learned some things from today. Love to see you on the inside at SEO Success Academy. We'll be right back here next week. Same time, same place, same channel. Good to see you, my friend.
Appreciate you, brother.
Everyone have a good day. Peace out. We're done.